now we're joined by new Orioles catcher James McCann. James, thanks so much for hopping on here.
Thanks for having me.
So first off, what was your reaction to the news that you'd been traded from the Mets to the Orioles a couple weeks back?
Oh man, honestly, it's a whirlwind. I was actually getting ready to take my kids to a drive-through Christmas light show. So that got put on hold, and the hot chocolate got cold, and all that good stuff. But I had an inkling that the trade was coming. Baltimore, I hadn't heard any rumors about Baltimore, so that aspect of it was a surprise. But I was ready for the news, and like I've said before, I'm excited for a new opportunity, a new chapter, and I'm looking forward to it.
How were your holidays, by the way, with those two kids? You have twins, is that right?
That's correct. We have twin boys. They are 5 years old. They actually just turned 5 right before Christmas. And it was a blast. The holiday season with little kids, there's nothing like it.
Awesome. Well, coming to Baltimore from the Mets last year, your periphery numbers were a little bit better than some of the counting numbers, and maybe you were the victim of some bad luck with expected batting average, expected on base, and slugging were all better than the actual outcomes. That combined with some of the injuries that you suffered in 2022, do you feel like you were perhaps the victim of some bad luck last year?
Yeah, I do. It was frustrating at times. But that's one thing that analytics are good for, is analytics can show you those underlying numbers, those numbers that are, show you the truth. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it in this game, those underlying numbers don't really mean much. It's the numbers that get counted. So, when you're hitting the ball hard and have nothing to show for it, it's frustrating. At the same time, if you're not hitting the ball hard and you're getting hits, you kind of ride that wave, but eventually that runs out. So, I put a lot of trust and faith that the process is right. And when the process is right, eventually the results will be there.
So this offseason, are you working on making any major changes offensively, or are you sticking with what you know best?
There's a few things I've been working on. It's things that I was working on through the season, especially towards the end of the season as I got healthy. But I do believe that a big part of last year was the lack of being able to stay healthy. I had handmate surgery on my left hand. I think it was like May, so it was right after the first month of the season. I'd been playing through some hand pain, wrist pain for at least 3 weeks, and then come to find out that I had a broken bone in there. And then literally 2 weeks after coming back from that, I pulled my oblique on a freak tag play at the plate. So, there's a lot that goes into performing at a big league level. And if you're not 100% healthy, it's very hard to be able to do that. So I do look forward to being healthy. I've had a healthy off season, and, just continuing to work on what I worked on last year at the end of the season.
You're coming to a ballpark that you've hit very well in over the course of your career. 16 games at Camden Yards. You're a .328 hitter. Now, they have moved back the left field wall since the last time you've been here, but what is it about Baltimore or this ballpark that brings out the best in you?
Tell you what, I've always loved playing in Baltimore. I think the fan base there is awesome. The stadium is just a super neat stadium. I remember coming there in 2014. I debuted in September 14. I wasn't on the playoff roster, but I was a part of the traveling party. So I remember just that experience of the playoffs in Baltimore. There's just something about that place that I do like. And as a quick story, to this day, the coolest like introduction that I've ever seen for a player was when J.J. Hardy came to bat in the playoffs, and the announcer, say now batting, shortstop number 2. And then I don't know if the announcer kept talking or not, but the whole fan base, J.J. Hardy. So just that, like I said, that experience of the playoffs in Baltimore, and then me, getting to play there and get at bats there. I've just always liked playing in Baltimore.
Yeah, that's a legendary call. J.J. Hardy steps to the plate. Every fan in Baltimore knows what to do at that point. Yeah. So you've changed teams a couple times in your career. How do you go about getting acquainted with a brand new pitching staff, and how do you plan to do that once you get to spring training in Sarasota with Baltimore?
Honestly, it'll actually start here in the next couple of weeks. I'll get everyone's contact information, start texting a few guys, maybe hop on a phone call here and there. But the big thing for me is getting stuff with the analytics guys, getting stuff with the pitching coach, and just learning strengths and weaknesses, learning keywords that help a guy when things may be going tough, learning different cues that help players, help pitchers. That's going to be the big thing for me is learning all that. And then once spring training starts, I'll be able to start those conversations, start building relationships with guys. Kyle Gibson, I've played against for years in the AL Central, and then last couple of years in the NL East. So I have a little bit of relationship with him. I know how he likes to pitch. I've faced him plenty of times in my career. So it'll be fun to get to know guys. I take it as a challenge, just like anything else, just to learn how each guy ticks and what makes them the big leaguer that they are.
And of course, you'll get to share backstop duties with Adley Rutschman, one of the exciting young catchers in the game. Have you had a chance to watch him catch or talk to him at all about his process behind the plate?
Not yet. I've seen highlights of him. Obviously, he had a heck of a year last year. Seeing him on highlights is pretty incredible. I know he's a great player. I've heard great things about him from guys that do know him. So I do plan on, now that we're through the holidays, getting in touch with him and just starting to build that relationship and let him know that anything that he needs, I'm there to help him and, hopefully create a really good relationship and a really good, working tandem together.
You've mentioned your playoff experience. You've been around for a while. You've been an all-star before. What do you think you can bring to this young team in Baltimore? And do you feel like you can lend some of your experience with both the pitchers and the catchers on this roster?
Yeah. First and foremost, I'm a big believer there's nothing you can do to replace experience. You can have all the talent in the world, but you're playing against the best talent in the world that make adjustments. So having somebody who's been around, somebody who's experienced failure, who's experienced successes, knows what works for different guys, just be able to share that information. Maybe I have a key word here or there that helps somebody, that clicks with somebody that maybe they don't hear from somebody else. But again, I do believe that my job as a veteran, as a guy that's been around for a little while, is to share that information. As much as it's my job to perform on the field, it's also my job in the clubhouse to be a leader, to share the knowledge that I know, and just to kind of be there for the youth. I know I came up with the Detroit Tigers. There's a lot of veterans in that clubhouse, and there's a couple key guys that kind of took me under their wing, and I knew that I could turn to if I needed anything. So I want to be that guy for this very youthful team.
Before we let you go, James, fans can read a lot about you based off your stats, based off your history with the White Sox, with the Mets. But what's one thing that fans should know about you that maybe they can't read on your Baseball Reference page?
Oh man, the biggest thing for me is how important my family is. I'm been married for I guess 8 years now. I don't want to get that wrong. We've got twin boys that just turned 5. I tell the story about being on the home run derby or on the field for the home run derby with them, and how that's just one of the highlights of my career. Seeing them, high five other big leaguers, watch the balls leaving the stadium. So the big thing for me is I'm a family guy. I'm pretty simple, pretty down to earth. I like to hunt, like to fish, and then baseball. So when it comes to my priorities, family and baseball, and I'm, like I said, I'm a simple guy, but I look forward to getting to know the community and being very involved.
There are a couple players on this Orioles team that also like to hunt and fish. Grayson Rodriguez, Gunnar Henderson. I'm sure you'll have a lot in common once you get to Baltimore. But James McCann, new Orioles catcher, thanks so much for hopping on. We appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks for having me. I look forward to being there in person.